So thank you so much for spending time with me. I appreciate you taking a few minutes out of your day to answer my questions.
No problem.
Okay, so the first question, I know that we just talked about this, and as we're doing this, I am intentionally just kind of how I would normally speak with you. I don't really want this to be super formal because this is more what our conversations really look like. And so anybody who's watching this video, I want them to really get a sense of that as well. So there's no really super right way to be, just being yourself is perfect. So first question, can you tell me some of the challenges that you've brought to coaching? Like why are we doing this?
I would say the biggest challenge was getting over fear of putting myself out there, fear of not knowing what I'm doing or not knowing my niche, fear that I wouldn't make progress, um, multiple fears. So just being fearful of trying something new and being afraid that I wasn't going to be very good at it. But
Yeah.
was able to get over that fear. Get
Yeah.
over something.
Because look at all the stuff that you're doing, right?
Exactly.
And so this isn't on the list of questions, but how do you think that changed? Like, how did you get over those fears?
It's definitely helpful having you because you're so genuine, so sweet. And also you challenged me. You weren't just like, oh, well, you're fearful of this. Okay, well, we're not going to do that. You're like, no, if you want to get here, your homework is to do this. And just asking me questions like, okay, well, what is it that how do you imagine it being? And I know when I talked about being consistent, intentionality, you had me define what does being consistent look like. And so I feel like in a lot of ways, I had to define what those fears were in order to get over them. And just the constant reassurance of everything's gonna be okay and that I'm not the only person who has been fearful of accomplishing this goal. And I won't be the only person to get over being fearful, not the only person who will accomplish meeting my goal.
Yeah, agreed. And I think what's one of the things that's sort of interesting is a lot of people don't get this far. Like they're so afraid, and fear happens with all of us, but they don't even get to the point where they're even in the ballpark. And so if you're in the ballpark, if you've decided to become a coach and you actually start doing something, like you're actually so far down the journey. That's the thing, is you think that you're just beginning, but because you actually decided and sort of said, that's it, I'm going to do something, you're actually like, you've jumped so far ahead just in that decision. And I think that, like when I remember that, it really helps me. And I hope that it helps you too, like that you're actually way farther along than you thought you were.
Yeah. Thank you.
So we've kind of talked a little bit about what's made the coaching effective. So let's move on to this next one here. So as a result of coaching, what are actually some of the outcomes that you've noticed?
I've gained followers. I've tried new things. I don't like being on camera, but I did a whole series being on camera and it got great outcome, a lot of interaction. Had some people tell me how helpful it was. And I'm actually looking forward to doing the next series. What else? Just different tools of when I'm feeling like I can't do it, then I can turn back to the stuff that I've written about. You have emailed me content that I can use, helping me through the usage of Canva and making sure that I take some of the content that I want and create it so it's a physical copy and not just things that I'm talking about. But if someone actually wants a physical copy, they can have that as well. Let's see. Being more organized. that's also been a big thing too, being more organized.
Yeah. The other thing is, I think you've honed your skill set about what to do when you need to be courageous, right? So that's like, it's kind of intangible in a way, but if you can get to that point where you're courageous and then you take the next step, it's like, that's where your power is. And you've practiced that over and over and over. So now that coming to that point of where you've got to do that uncomfortable thing, you've done a whole bunch of uncomfortable things before. Like, that's what happens when we're building a business, when we're becoming something that we're, we've never been before, is, yeah, we've got to do uncomfortable things, but then we kind of get used to it, right? Like, it's like, oh, is this okay? Yeah, I'm going to be scared. Yeah, it's going to suck. Yeah, but when it's done, it'll be good, right? Like, so just that
Exactly.
learning that piece is big, and you can apply it anywhere. That's the thing too, right? So finally, can you give me just a few thoughts on the value of working with a coach, and what has that meant, and what does that mean to you?
We can't do life on our own. And before working with you, I was really trying to do everything on my own. And I was doing everything on my own because I've seen other people, like family, who don't like asking for help and wouldn't do something like this. But after seeing your free resources, I was like, oh, I have to work with you. Um, and working with you, I'm so glad that I did reach out to you to be my coach and not try to do things on my own, because you can definitely get a lot further if you do things with someone else. So having a coach has been very, very beneficial for me. And once again, like I mentioned earlier, you challenging me to do things that I wouldn't have done on my own. If I was just working by myself, I wouldn't have done some of the stuff. Um, Encouraging me, I can encourage myself, but it does feel good to hear someone else tell me you're making good progress, you're doing good. And like I said, you have such a sweet voice, so it even feels more encouraging, hearing it coming from you versus if I tell myself that I'm doing good, because it's like, it's me. Of course I feel like I'm doing good, but if someone else recognizes it, it feels much better. um yeah, just you being encouraging but also challenging me. And it doesn't feel like that this is just your job, like you're doing it out of obligation, but it feels very genuine. You seem like a very warm person that actually wants to see me succeed, regardless on how many other clients you may have. I always feel like a priority when I'm one-on-one with you, or even when I email you, if I have a question or something like that.
Thank you. That means a lot to me. And there's one piece here too. And this reminds me, like, when you and I very, very, very first started talking all those months ago, you said to me that you wanted to make a difference. You wanted to make an impact, right? A positive difference in people's lives. And the piece that it reminds me of is when you work with a coach and you have somebody that you're working side by side with, you do make more progress so much more quickly. And so the impact is that you get to live the life that you want. You move closer to that life that you want faster, and you also move other people. And so because you start to live more of your life that you want, you serve more people more quickly too. And that's something that I don't think, like, a lot of us, especially coaches, like, we're caring people, we want to help people, but we forget that if we take that much longer, there's all those people that are waiting for our help and we're not helping them. So not to rush, but to move smoothly and swiftly in the direction that we want helps us and helps our people too. And I think that that's really important. So thank you for that reminder. I appreciate that. Cool. Thank you so much. I really appreciate the time that you spent with me, and I will talk to you soon.